Acts chapter 8. We're ready for verse 26. This is a great story. And it's not, by the way, it's not a story. It's the account of something that actually happened. Verse 26. Now an angel of the Lord said to Philip, wait, stop. I have never had an angel of the Lord give me any kind of instruction. So if I'm going only on my experience, then I would have to doubt this. If I'm going to go only on my experience, there's a whole lot of truth out there that I have to not only doubt but deny, because that it's not my experience. That, I think, is one of the flaws of sometimes people claiming to have this rational approach. Well, yeah, if your rationality is bounded only by your own experience, man, you live in a real small world. Okay, I will say this, though. We don't have accounts that all of the apostles heard from angels. It wasn't like, all the leaders of this primitive early church, the first church in Jerusalem, now, after it had been scattered, dispersed by the persecution after Stephen's murder, there are men who heard from God through an angel, but they're not. This is way not in the majority. Okay, an angel of the Lord said to Philip, go south to the road, the desert road, that goes down from Jerusalem to Gaza. One of the things to remember about the phrasing of going down from Jerusalem makes no difference what geographic direction you are going. If you're leaving Jerusalem, you're going down. Now, part of that is just topographical. It has to do with the fact that Jerusalem is a high point, not the highest, but a high point in terms of the topography. The temple was built on a mountain, and we have to realize we're not talking about Rocky Mountains or the Alps. We're talking about Judean, Israeli hills that are higher than the other hills. So anyway, it goes down from Jerusalem to Gaza. Now today we still hear about the Gaza Strip. So this is not a mythical place. It's not a mythical journey. It is, though, south of Jerusalem. So Philip responded in verse 27. So he started out, and on his way, he met an Ethiopian eunuch. I shouldn't make too much of this, but I'm going to make something of it. On his way. I just believe that we get this privilege of a commission that is best executed on our way. When Jesus said, go into all the earth, it's, I've talked about this before, but I mean, you can reliably translate that as you go. How much of your witness and my witness is given as we go? I hope you have opportunities to preach. I mean, in an organized, structured, formal preaching setting. I hope you have that chance. If you are gifted to be a public speaker, it's a great experience. If you're not, it throws you onto your reliance of God. But most of us don't stand behind a pulpit. on a stage behind a lectern, whatever, and preach. But almost all of us are going somewhere. And as we go, and this argues for what I said last time about ruthlessly eliminating hurry. The angel didn't tell Philip, now hurry on, go fast down to that road, the desert road. He just said, go down there, go south to the road, the desert road that goes down from Jerusalem to Gaza. Well, if Philip had been in a hurry, he would have just buzzed right around this Ethiopian eunuch. So, all right, on his way. Okay, now this next phrasing is a little hard for introverts to feel comfortable with. He started out, and on his way, he met an Ethiopian eunuch. Now, what's difficult about that? Well, introverts generally don't enjoy meeting people they don't know. And there's a part of me that is introverted. And I don't, I can't say, well, I've been tested and I'm an ambivert, meaning I'm both introverted and extroverted. At times I'm extroverted and at times I'm introverted. But I do know there are times when I'm on my way, I don't want to meet anybody. I need time. One of the venues for this is when we travel, especially when we travel by air. I don't too much want to just strike up this, delightful conversation with somebody I've never met and will probably never see again. Which that's partly my introversion, is partly just my selfishness. And then there are times where I'm feeling extroverted and I'll strike up the conversation. It's weird. Well, Philip, I think Philip was a good bit extroverted. And when he came upon this black man, a dark-skinned man, he was from Ethiopia in Africa, he kind of got out of what for an introvert would be the comfort zone. And he met an Ethiopian eunuch, an important official in charge of all the treasury of Kandake, which some versions call her Candace, which means queen of the Ethiopians. This was, he had status. It was no small thing that he was in charge of all the treasury of the queen of Ethiopia. That's a big deal. Now, Ethiopia was not a world power. I'll grant that. But Ethiopia was a country all of its own and had some wealth. And this guy was in charge of the queen's wealth. I don't think there was this tag on his chariot that said, the important Ethiopian official, and in letters under that, in charge of the queen's treasury. No. But Luke is unpacking this for us so that we can understand what's going on. I don't think that Philip stopped him because he had a sense this is an important guy. I ought to stop and meet this guy. I don't think so. I think he was on the road. And okay, let's read on. This man had gone to Jerusalem to worship and was on his way home, was sitting in his chariot reading the book of Isaiah the prophet. Now, what do we gain in terms of what we understand about this Ethiopian guy? Well, first of all, he was a eunuch. There are two ways that a person Well, there's really only one way that a person in that day would be a eunuch. And that would be that he would have had his testicles removed. It's pretty harsh, okay? This was not a homosexual man. This was a man who had either, and I don't think he would have voluntarily done this, and I don't think it would have been done to him flippantly. The reason he would have been made a eunuch is because he would be spending large amounts of time with the queen. And it's going to sound indiscreet, but let's just be, I'm not going to be too graphic, but here's the deal. He was made a eunuch so he couldn't knock up the queen. I don't know how else to say it. I think we don't know enough of his story to know at what point was he made a eunuch, but I do know this much. As a eunuch, he didn't have the drive of testosterone that other men had. Well, okay. There is, I don't know, you can think about it on your own, but I think there are some things about his life that would have been unordinary on many levels. His status with the queen and his role in the whole nation of Ethiopia, his physical status of being emasculated. The third thing is he went to Jerusalem to worship. Now, it's not like he went to Jerusalem because he was curious about what these Jews were doing. He went there to worship. And the journey from Ethiopia to Jerusalem was no small thing. It would have been many days of journey. He did have a chariot. He was not on foot, but he was en route back from Jerusalem. Okay. While sitting in his chariot, which leads me to believe he had a driver, and there's even the possibility that he had kind of an entourage, but that's an assumption. He was sitting in his chariot and was reading from the book of Isaiah. Now, when we read the book of Isaiah, we have the benefit of knowing Jesus' story, the story of his life. And much of what Isaiah talks about when he wrote it was prophecy foretelling the story of Jesus. The eunuch didn't have the benefit of knowing the story. And there's a good bit of Isaiah that if you didn't already know the story would be kind of mysterious. And it was for the eunuch. In verse 29, the Spirit told Phillip, go to that chariot and stay near it. Why? Well, because of what was going to happen. He needed to be in that kind of close physical proximity. Verse 30, then Phillip ran up to the chariot. Okay, he was in a hurry at that point, responding to what the Spirit had told him. And heard the man reading Isaiah the prophet. This guy wasn't just reading, he was reading aloud. And Phillip says, do you understand what you're reading? Well, we don't have time to carry further with that encounter. We'll pick it up next time on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.